Our message to the world is that the Democratic Republic of the Congo is being illegally occupied by Rwanda. This is the clear result of decades of impunity and of not holding President Kagame accountable for his flagrant violations and his disregard for international law. The issue that we're looking at right now is a dramatic humanitarian situation. The main city in North Kivu province, Goma, being occupied by Rwandan defense forces with, as a puppet, the M23, a pretense of an armed group. And at the same time, also the Rwandan defense forces and de facto the Rwandan government backing, funding and equipping an insurgency that seeks to overthrow a legally established and elected government.
Rwanda, of course, has always denied sending its troops into your country, denied its support for the M23, even if the United Nations certainly backs up some of your claims. But I think a lot of people around the world look at this and they're shocked that a country the size of the Democratic Republic of Congo, in terms of geography, in terms of population and resources, is struggling to fight off, as it says, tiny Rwanda next door.
Of course, but what we should not lose out of sight is the dramatic investments that Rwanda has put into arming the RDF and into arming the M23. Even the United Nations peacekeeping mission, one of the largest in the world, that is working side by side with the Congolese armed forces, declared itself being outgunned by the Rwandan defense forces. Military operations and military efforts have been systematically undermined by the fact that Rwanda installed along its border GPS jamming technology that has made it quasi-impossible to navigate the airspace, not only for military aircrafts, but civilian aircrafts and humanitarian aircrafts. And this is what we are denouncing, that because of the silence and the inaction, especially of those countries that have been backing Kigali, we find ourselves in a situation where a monster has been created in the Great Lakes region, and this monster is unleashed and everyone is watching. So our call to action to all the stakeholders, but in particular those countries that have been funding the Rwandan regime, is that this madness needs to stop.
We've heard over the last few days numerous accounts of the suffering of civilians in Goma, whether it's a lack of water or electricity, concern about food or the problems in hospitals, allegations too of rapes committed on civilians. Well, M23 seems now to be heading towards another major city in the east of the DRC, Bukavu. Can you guarantee the Congolese people that your armed forces will be able to keep Bukavu out of M23's hands?
Of course, and it is out of question that we consider a scenario under which the M23 would advance further. Also, this goes hand in hand again with holding Rwanda accountable for what is clearly orchestrated regime change by Rwanda, a country that benefits of so much foreign aid. We ask ourselves the question whether British taxpayers are satisfied with the fact that their taxes have consistently contributed to funding a person who is intent on destabilizing an entire region, but also who has been doing so to exploit illegally natural resources in the DRC.
So to be clear, what are you asking then of Britain, of America, of other Western countries? What do you want?
I think, first of all, aid should be stopped to Kigali. Secondly, there need to be sanctions targeting the command structure of the Rwandan Defense Forces, as well as the politicians that have been enabling this warfare in the Great Lakes region and in particular in the DRC. Also, I think that Rwanda ought to be under an embargo for all of its mineral exportations. They should not be benefiting from what has been mined illegally and under forced labor in the eastern DRC. Rwanda should also be suspended. This is a very important point. Suspended as a troop contributing country to United Nations peacekeeping missions. I want to remind you that in the past week, 17 peacekeepers were killed by the RDF and by the M23. Peacekeepers killed by Rwanda, which is one of the largest troop contributing country to United Nations peacekeeping missions. It is unacceptable that in 2025, we have to witness a country that presents itself as a peace bringer in other countries be a warmonger in the Great Lakes region.
Your president, Felix Tshisekedi, refused an invitation to meet the Rwandan President Paul Kagame at a summit in Nairobi to discuss this crisis with regional leaders. Not a good look, is it?
Well, I would want to remind you that there is a framework under which the political tensions between the DRC and Rwanda was being negotiated, the Luanda process. I would like to remind you a peace agreement had to be signed between the DRC and Rwanda under the auspices of Angola, it is President Kagame who did not show up. We are urging, just as all members of the Security Council have done so, for the return to the negotiation tables at the Luanda process.